What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Tyson Fury and John concerning Lennox Lewis. And get this, Tyson Fury says that Lennox Lewis is an envious has-been. Of course, Tyson Fury is not the biggest fan of Lennox Lewis. John Fury is praising Lennox Lewis, stating that the young version of the former undisputed world heavyweight champion would have beaten today's Vladimir Klitschko. But he says this. He says, the 27-year-old Lennox Lewis would have been very hard to beat, states Fury. Even though he hates us, I don't know why he hates us. Lennox Lewis has never stated he has any grievance or animosity towards the Fury family, so the contention appears without foundation, but Tyson certainly believes it. He said, "Tell you why he hates us," Tyson asked, rhetorically. He says, because he's an has-been. He's an old, and he envies other fighters who have been active. He has been a fighter. He has been a champion. He has been in the public eye. Those are the words of John Fury. So basically, that was John Fury, not Tyson Fury, despite this title, or this article, rather. And let me counterpunch. Well, I don't know what, this is not based on fact, okay? I never heard Lennox Lewis having a problem with the Furies at all. I never heard him say anything bad about John or Tyson Fury. In fact, I just did a video that Lennox Lewis is backing Tyson Fury to beat Anthony Joshua in the biggest fight of the year. Possibly the biggest fight of probably the last 5 years. Okay, since Mayweather-Pacquiao. And I don't see where this is coming from. Okay, but we'll say this. He might not have any evidence of Lennox Lewis not liking them, but there is an example of Lennox Lewis being the exact word that he was accused of by the Furies. Envious. Envious is an interesting word. When I heard the comments that Lennox Lewis said about Anthony Joshua, I thought envious. Didn't think jealousy or nothing like that. You know, you have to know the difference between the two to decipher the two meanings. And Lennox Lewis, I think he envies Anthony Joshua's career. You know, he envied the fact that he didn't have to go abroad to make millions of dollars or to be loved and admired, and you know what I mean, and the endorsements and the support that he got just staying right there at home. I think Lennox Lewis hated that. He hated that reality, you know, knowing that this kid can come over, that can be right in the UK, right where he was, who he was fighting for, and get all this praise, something that he couldn't do in his career. He had to go over here to the States and this, that, and the other. You know what I mean? He had to go abroad because he wasn't getting respect that he needed. You know, Tyson Fury kind of had a similar background as, you know, of how he was treated or whatnot. Okay? And it was one of those things, I feel, he was a much more challenged fighter, and he did a lot more. I think he's very talented, Lennox Lewis, but I think when it came to Joshua, him and Joshua don't have the best relationship. We know that. I don't have to go into that, but you know, based on the things that he was talking about Anthony Joshua, there was no reason why he was saying them. You know what I'm saying? Like, why were you backing Deontay Wilder over Anthony Joshua? You know what I mean? Was it because of the backstory, the bad blood? I don't know. We don't really know. However, what we do know is the things that you said about Anthony Joshua reflect envy. It reflects something that you wished you had. Like, well, he can stay there and fight in the UK, you know, and just in front of those audience and please those audience. He has to go away. No, you had to go away. You know, those type of things that he had to do, and he wanted to shape and mold Anthony Joshua the way he felt Anthony Joshua's career could go, but he didn't. He didn't have that option or that that responsibility. So, and because he didn't get it, and he went with like the Hearns, just with Matchroom, he made a lot more money, and I think that made Lennox Lewis sick. Now, again, John Fury saying this about Lennox Lewis, I don't think it's one of those things where he has a valid point where, oh, he hates the Furies. I don't believe that. But Lennox Lewis has showed that one example of envy against Anthony Joshua. Okay, so it's interesting that he says that particular word because, Lennox Lewis, I do feel he envies Anthony Joshua because of the amount of support that he got from his people throughout his career thus far. Contrast himself, which really didn't get that support that like Ricky Hatton got, Anthony Joshua got. 10,000 Brits came over to see him fight Andy Ruiz, which he lost. How many people have you seen come over to support Lennox Lewis in comparison? Not saying that any didn't come over. I'm not saying that, but it wasn't to that magnitude, if you know what I'm saying. So if you can compare the two, of the two support systems, they don't really compare. But anyway, it's interesting to hear John Fury say that. You guys tell me what you think. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys can Counterpunch. Peace.